It's time for Ogre School. Let's get started.
This video is sponsored by Duct Tape. Find out more at the end. So this video is about the basics of using commentary in argument. In other words, writing where you are presenting your own opinions and defending them. Commentary is a very complex topic. Students frequently struggle with it. And honestly, most teachers struggle to teach it well. At the same time, commentary is very important. An essay without good commentary is absolutely doomed to failure. My goal in this video is to make it as simple as possible. Since I am doing that, keep in mind that I cannot possibly cover everything that can be said about commentary. I'm merely trying to hit the most important and basic points. Please also keep in mind that if you perfectly understand everything in this video and do it perfectly in your writing, that does not mean your commentary is perfect. That makes it, at best, good enough. This is just a starting point. But of course, everything has to start somewhere. So what is commentary? In an argument, you make claims, things that you're trying to establish to be true. Then you provide evidence to support those claims. Commentary, to be as simple as possible, starts at the evidence and builds a pathway to the claim. It connects them. Consider, just because you have a claim and evidence does not mean that it is clear to the audience why those two things are connected. It may not be obvious to them why that evidence actually proves your claim. You have the responsibility to make that connection clear and obvious. Remember that the burden of persuasion is on you. In real life, you can't assume someone you're talking to knows what you mean or what you're thinking. Just because the connection makes sense to you doesn't mean it does to anyone else, until, of course, you explain it. Honestly, this is where a lot of real-life conversations get messed up. Two people disagree as they argue, and they don't fully explain their ideas, and then they wonder why the other person doesn't get it. This happens all the time online.
How to be an internet troll and completely annoy people, Lesson 2. Last time, we talked about refusing to provide appropriate evidence, such as using the phrases like, go do your own research, or just Google it, or sending them a link to a site with thousands of pages and refusing to tell them exactly where to look. But the sad fact is that a lot of people have become wise to these tactics and will walk away when you don't provide evidence. This brings us to Lesson 2. Provide evidence and refuse to explain it. Here is an example.
Onions can cure the common cold.
Oh, here we go again. Another claim without evidence.
No evidence? What about this link that shows that onions contain antioxidants?
Wait, are we about to have an actual, real discussion? Yay! Okay, can you explain how those antioxidants are going to cure a cold?
Well, I mean, if you can't figure that out, maybe you should do your own research.
Mission accomplished yet again. In Lesson 3, we will discuss how to pretend like someone else's evidence actually proves you right, even when it doesn't. See you then.
Without good commentary, your claim and evidence, even if very good, will fall flat. When you are writing, pretend that someone is looking over your shoulder and keeps asking, "So what?" If your imaginary friend is less rude, imagine they say, "Go on." Here's an example that I know you will absolutely love to agree with. Claim, Bryan Adams is a good school. Evidence, we have advisory class. Now, some of you watching may immediately understand why I think advisory shows the goodness of Bryan Adams, but I imagine many of you are confused or are already mad at me. If I'm going to use this claim and evidence, I must use commentary to show the connection. Like so. This extra period gives teachers a chance to more closely connect with a small number of students. so they can have a greater impact in helping them academically. This connection is instrumental in helping many at-risk students succeed both emotionally and academically because it makes it easier to provide assistance and makes it more likely these students who need help will be identified. As a result, the school's use of advisory class exemplifies the many ways it works to help its students. Okay, now, you may still disagree with me, or maybe not, but at this point it is clear why I am connecting that claim and that evidence. That, at the most basic level, is commentary. Notice a couple things. First, the commentary is clearly connected to the evidence. Secondly, the commentary is clearly connected to the claim. This is vital. Without this, you cannot claim to have made the connection. Third, the commentary adds explanation. It goes more in depth. It makes things more obvious. So, look at this. Claim, Mr. Kendrick is a horrible teacher. Evidence, he makes bad jokes. This could be an acceptable claim and evidence, but at the moment it is incomplete. There are so many questions unanswered. The biggest one is, why do bad jokes make a horrible teacher? That is not immediately obvious. There are several possible explanations that you could give. Maybe you want to explain that the jokes are distracting and make it hard to learn. Maybe you want to explain that the jokes are so bad that students begin to hate the teacher because of them, which creates a bad classroom environment. Maybe you want to explain that the jokes are wasting class time. Or maybe you say two or more of those. The point is, though, until you make the connection between the evidence and the claim, you're not done. Let's revisit an example from a former student. Her claim was that humans value money over other people. For evidence, she chose to use the institution of slavery in the U.S. She started like this. This is a strong claim and convincing evidence. She could very well have thought she was done here. After all, people can probably figure out the connection between slavery and her claim. However, so far she has not actually explained the connection. I can't stress this enough. It is required that you, not the person reading your writing, makes the connection. I admit that there are times when it is acceptable to leave things implied, but there are two reasons why you should not do this for this type of writing. First, what you think is an obvious connection may not be obvious to everyone else. Secondly, when you are being graded, you only get credit for what you actually did. I have heard multiple people who grade essays on the AP test say that one of the biggest differences between a good essay and a bad one is that the less good essays make the reader figure out these connections, but the strong essays do it themselves. So, if you don't make the connection, you won't get the grade. Fortunately for us, this student of mine was wise to this, and she kept writing. Look at what she added. That sentence masterfully connects the claim and the evidence. It shows that slavery was about letting others suffer so that the slave owners could make money. Notice that her commentary connects to both the evidence and the claim. This is the point. And she keeps going, making the connection stronger and the point deeper. This is strong, powerful commentary. To finish up, here are some do's and don'ts for commentary. Explain what you're thinking? Do. Assume the evidence finishes the proof? Don't. Repeat yourself? Don't. Fill in any blanks? Do. Include your personal feelings? Do. Reword or restate the evidence? Don't. Tell me what the evidence means, aka translate it for me. Don't. Say, this connects to the evidence because. Don't. Go in depth? Do. TLDR. The commentary creates a connection between the evidence and the claim. The commentary completes the thought. The commentary makes it impossible for anyone to be unsure of your ideas. Finally, a word from our sponsor. We live in a disconnected world, pushing forward on our own, making do, but wanting so much more. All too often, even when we do connect, it is nothing more than a charade. But there is hope. For years, duct tape has been the premier connection maker. It creates the ties that bind. Find out what it can do